The Prime Minister pushing ahead with his Royal Commission into Australia's bushfire crisis.
We'd need to do a very quick audit, and there have been agencies that have already done a lot of this work that reconciles what are the recommendations that have been made and what's actually being done.
Speaking to Sky News presenter Peter Credlin, Mr Morrison made his priorities clear. The Prime Minister seeking greater clarity on when the Commonwealth can send in the army during an emergency.
I want to know where the trigger line is. I want to know where the authority then is established for the Prime Minister, for the federal government, to be able to take the initiative. The Constitution, the laws of our country are very clear about what the Commonwealth can and can't do.
This current bushfire season began early, back in September. The Prime Minister promising his inquiry will need to be completed before the next season begins.
I don't want it to flig about. I don't think it needs to go for 12 months. I don't think it needs to go, for more than half that period of time.
And as the blame game between local councils and state governments over hazard reduction continues, Mr Morrison revealed a nationwide system of accountability was in his sights.
There is not a national system of reporting to track how hazard reduction is progressing.
Scott Morrison declaring removing fuel loads, increasing backburning and clearing vegetation all needs to be improved, equating its importance with emissions reduction.
There's been plenty of chat about emissions reduction, and that's fine. Hazard reduction, though, is the thing that is going to take a more practical effect on how safe people are in future fire seasons. Hazard reduction is as important as emissions reduction, and many would argue, I think, even more so because it has an even more direct practical impact.
Criticism of the government's 26% emissions reduction target also dismissed, with the Prime Minister continuing to defend his climate credentials while recalling the historic repeal of Julia Gillard's carbon price.
Well, we got rid of the tax and we've met the target. The technology continues to improve. And we got there, and we're going to get there again. So we just calmly get about it and not destroy your economy because of the calls of others who are intent on putting a tax on Australians.
Defying calls, even within his own Liberal Party ranks, to extend the size and scope of his emissions target.
I was asked yesterday about a 2050 target. I mean, 2050, it's a long way away. But the point is, no one who is committing to that is telling Australians what that will cost them. And this was the same thing in the election campaign. Bill Shorten couldn't tell anybody what you've got to tell people what the cost is.
But the Prime Minister himself is going to wait until the May budget before revealing the cost of the bushfires to his long-promised and prized 2019-20 surplus.
The budget will reconcile what that all means for the surplus at that time of the year, and we'll wait for that time to do that update.
David Shiraz, Sky News, Canberra.